Jinger Duggar revealed that her family's modest dress code affected their photo shoots for TLC when they starred on 19 Kids and Counting On. Getting everyone in something they wanted to wear was always a little challenging, Jinger 31 recalled during the Wednesday, January 22nd episode of her and husband Jeremy Vuolo's The Jinger and Jeremy podcast. She continued, "I was always a little nervous about that because I didn't know what wardrobe they were going to choose. So that's something where I was hesitant going into it." During her family's time on TLC, Bob Duggar, Michelle Duggar and their kids would pose for promotional photo shoots alongside other stars from the network shows including Little People, Big World, Sister Wives, 90 Day Fiancé and more. The wardrobe team would provide clothing they picked out for the reality stars, and Jinger explained that they would try to choose things they thought you would typically choose for yourself. Fans of the Duggar family know Bob 59 and Michelle's daughters were raised to dress modestly in skirts and dresses that showed off little to no skin. They had all of the very Duggar-style wardrobe. So it was more like Old Navy, probably even some Walmart clothes were in there, very chill, very streamlined Duggar style, she reflected. They had our whole wardrobe and then they'd have someone else's on the side. While the wardrobe team came prepared with clothes, Jinger claimed that the size options of the clothing would vary. She then shared that one time she was given a dress that was 2 sizes too big, and it needed to be pinned in order to fit her properly. According to the former reality star, the wardrobe team was given fact sheets for her and her family that included their clothing sizes. However, some of the stylists were not aware of the Duggars' strict dress code. "Couple of them didn't realize we didn't wear pants," she said, adding that they were never forced to wear something they didn't feel comfortable in. Despite the difficulty that surrounded her clothing at the photo shoots, Jinger fondly recalled the experiences and said she enjoyed getting to spend time with the other TLC stars. "Most of the time we were separated, they tried to give you your own space so you wouldn't run into other people," she shared. In hair and makeup or in wardrobe or when walking outside of your tent you could see people you knew. While Jinger and her sisters were raised not to wear pants, she has become more adventurous with her style and now includes the garment in her daily wardrobe. Crosswords. She previously opened up about the dress code she was raised to follow in her and Jeremy's 2021 memoir, The Hope We Hold. "My mom had always dressed us girls in skirts and dresses, a standard that was taken from Deuteronomy 22.5, which says, 'A woman shall not wear a man's garment,'" she wrote. "Modesty was a huge topic in our house, and we believed that wearing skirts instead of pants was a central part of being modest. But I wanted to discover for myself what the Bible had to say." Jinger said she eventually decided to start wearing pants after she examined certain passages in the Bible on her own. "Since Jeremy and I had begun studying scripture together, I had become more aware of the different beliefs and doctrines Christians held," she shared. "I realized that not everyone interpreted different passages of scripture the way I always had, and I wanted to find out why." It's been years since Jinger Duggar appeared on reality TV, but she spent most of her life being filmed by TLC cameras while Counting On and 19 Kids and Counting were still on the air. There's no doubt that more went on behind the scenes than fans will ever know about, but for now, Jinger's sharing a peek into one of the obligations that came with being a part of the shows: promotional photo shoots. Every so often, the Duggars would have to pose for new photos for TLC to promote the show's new episodes, and in the pictures, the family didn't get to wear their own clothes. Instead, a stylist would pick out what they wore. According to what Jinger said on this week's episode of the Jinger and Jeremy podcast, that part wasn't easy. "Getting everyone in something they wanted to wear was always a little challenging," she said. "I was always a little nervous about that because I didn't know what wardrobe they were going to choose. So that's something where I was hesitant going into it. The stylists would try to pick out clothes that they thought you would typically choose for yourself, keeping the wardrobe choices in a very streamlined Duggar style and shopping at Old Navy and Walmart. Unfortunately, they weren't always good about choosing the right sizes, leaving them wearing clothes that were too big for them that then needed to be pinned." And Jinger noted that some of the stylists didn't realize we didn't wear pants. Stars of other TLC reality series would be there too, and Jinger said on the podcast that she enjoyed seeing them when she was in hair and makeup. "Most of the time we were separated, they tried to give you your own space so you wouldn't run into other people," she said. Filming a reality show and all that comes with it does sound stressful, so props to Jinger and her siblings for handling it all so well at such young ages. What they've grown up doing is something so many people will never experience. Jinger Duggar admitted that filming a reality show today would be very different than when she and her family starred on TLC's 19 Kids and Counting On. During the Wednesday, January 22nd episode of the Jinger and Jeremy podcast, Jinger 31 and husband Jeremy Vuolo reflected on whether or not they would do another reality TV show following Counting On's cancellation in June 2021. "I don't know. I don't think so," Jinger said. "Not right now. Not in this season of life." While she was not sold on the idea of starring on another reality show, she and Jeremy 37 said that any show they would star on in the future wouldn't follow every aspect of life. Jinger went on to admit that she does miss some aspects of reality TV. "For all those years you have the sweet memories of traveling and stuff, but it's not all the same," she said. "'Cause you wouldn't have your same film crew. You wouldn't have your same people you're working with. And you're not filming as a larger family unit, so there's lots of things that would feel so drastically different if you did a show again." Jeremy agreed that starring on a new show would not be the same, and he said that it was good to have a healthy break from the different chapters of their lives, otherwise you're constantly living in the past, the former soccer player said. "And if there's too much nostalgia, it can lead to this depression because you're thinking, man, I'll never get that back, or I'll never have this opportunity again." Counting On was cancelled after Jinger's older brother Josh Duggar was arrested in April 2021. He was eventually sentenced to serve 12.5 years in prison after he was found guilty of child pornography charges. TLC will not be producing additional seasons of Counting On. TLC feels it is important to give the Duggar family the opportunity to address their situation privately, the network said in a statement about the show's future following Josh's arrest. Jinger reflected on the show being cancelled in her 2023 memoir, Becoming Free Indeed, and she recalled getting the call that they wouldn't be returning for another season. "When the call ended, I wrapped my arms around Jeremy and cried hard," she wrote at the time. "So many emotions poured out of me that day. I felt sad." After noting that filming had been a constant in my life since I was around 10 years old, she continued, "When the show was on break and the crews didn't come around for a few months, I missed the energy and excitement of interacting with all the creative people. Producers worked with my family to come up with ideas for episodes. It was fun to think of creative ways to give audiences a glimpse into our day-to-day lives." While the Duggar shows were among the most popular on TLC, Jinger admitted she was surprised they remained on the network as long as they did in the early years. "My family assumed the show would last no more than a season or two. Didn't seem possible that many Americans would be interested in a family with our conservative values," she said. Yet each year, TLC renewed the show. "For most of my life, that wasn't a burden.